Shalom, everyone. Today we'll discuss something that we already discussed about men's prayer and prohibitions prior to it. By the way, we talked about men not being allowed to do, a haircut, a sit-down meal, all kinds of other work that might have the time pass before we could daven. So it's especially appropriate for mincha because that's I think the shortest time of the three prayers. Um, but because we said already that women are exempt from Mariv, then we're just talking right now about the morning prayers and what the prohibitions are. And if you remember, the basis for this was a verse in Parashat Doshim where it says "Lo tochlu al adam," that you should not eat over the blood. The literal meaning is that you're not allowed to partake from the sacrifices. So if it's a Kohen who's eating a chatat or an asham, or an actual regular Israelite who is eating the peace offering, the shlamim, you're not allowed to eat until the blood was sprinkled on the altar. And so that's the source, and then the rabbis, I think, based on something in the Gemara, say that it's also a metaphor for our blood. You don't eat before you pray for your blood. And Rav Kook once said that technically speaking, if you said Psalm 30, where it says "Ma betza b'dami," what is it? What gain do you have in me dying? And that's already praying over the blood, and so or before the blood. But again, that's just an allegory, not an actual halachic concept. So, when dawn breaks and the time to pray shacharit arrives, one must stand before their Creator in prayer. He should not place his own honor before God's honor. Therefore, the sages teach that a man is prohibited from working, traveling, and eating before he prays. If you remember, we talked about somebody going on an airplane or train before the time of Shachrit starts. Like if it's a very, well, either very late at night or very early in the morning flight, that could be considered that you started doing it already before the time started. So that's why, additionally, one must not put his friend's honor before God's honor, and therefore he must not go to his friend's house and speak to him before praying. And the halacha that we'll learn tomorrow is about greeting somebody in the street or otherwise prior to praying. So, in principle, this pertains to women as well. However, any woman who is accustomed to acting leniently by fulfilling the mitzvah of prayer with Birkot HaShachar and Birkot Torah, the blessings of the morning, and the blessing before Torah study alone, must be careful not to perform any of these activities before reciting these brachot. A woman who follows the opinion of most poskim and prays the Shacharit Amida every morning must refrain from performing these acts before praying the Amida. However, in times of need, even a woman who is accustomed to praying the Amida of Shacharis every morning may rely on the lenient poskim and may work and travel after reciting Birkot HaShachar and Birkot Torah. So let's say that a woman, it's not the shape of a neder because we don't swear, we don't take an oath to keep a mitzvah. So if they have to now go somewhere and they still didn't daven Amida, then if it's a great need, they are allowed to. And again, we're being lenient because their obligation to pray is less than a man's. Even a woman who sometimes prays the Shacharit Amida and other times prays the Amida of Mincha should try to make sure that on the days that she prays Shacharit, she refrains from performing these actions before praying. In times of need, she may be lenient again and perform them after she recites Birkot HaShachar and Birkot Torah. So this footnote, I think, is very important because it's even longer than the halacha. So it says like this. Simply stated, all prohibitions that apply to men also apply to women, since according to most poskim, women must pray shacharit and mincha, as explained above. Yet there are poskim who maintain that women fulfill their obligation of prayer by reciting only Birkot HaShachar and Birkot Torah, and consequently, after saying them, they may do other activities. Likewise, according to the poskim who maintain that women must pray one daily prayer, that prayer can be mincha, and therefore the prohibitions before shacharit do not apply to them, because otherwise they won't be doing anything until 6.5 halachic hours have passed. And that's, in the world of today where we have to go to work and stuff like that, that it's not even possible. Therefore, it seems a woman who is accustomed to praying shacharit every day must be strict concerning all these laws, just as men are. For other women, it is proper to be strict and to say Birkot HaShachar and Birkot HaTorah before performing any other actions. However, a woman who is accustomed to praying mincha as her one daily prayer is presumably permitted to perform any actions mentioned here because these prohibitions were only instituted for before shacharit. Also, if she was, let's say, at work and mincha, and the time for mincha is already mincha gdolah is at 6.5 hours, like we just said, it doesn't make sense that she should have to stop work and immediately daven mincha if she has a set hour that is appropriate and allowed. Still, it is proper to take care to say Birkot HaShachar and Birkot HaTorah right after waking up. Hence, I did not make a distinction in their laws. Additionally, if a woman handles her dealings before Birkot HaShachar and Birkot HaTorah, there is concern that she will forget to recite them. Therefore, it is proper to teach that women must recite Birkot HaShachar and Birkot HaTorah before engaging in any activities, regardless of the case. Obviously, if you're waking up to a crying baby or whatever, we're not talking about that. We're just talking about regular days. Um, and and then he continues a little bit. Even women who regularly pray shacharit every morning may act leniently regarding all these issues before prayer when they absolutely must, as long as they recite Birkot HaShachar and Birkot HaTorah first. This is because it is possible to consider the opinions of the poskim who maintain that after Birkot HaShachar it is already permissible to deal with work matters and travel, as stated by the Ramad, Rav Moshe Isserlich, yes, in Krakow. Further, some say that with Birkot HaShachar and Birkot Torah, women already fulfill their obligation to pray, and therefore they need not be cautious regarding all these issues. So I read an article last week that I think is very relevant to this. This woman was in one of the smaller malls in Jerusalem, and she heard that there's a quiet place in there for a shul. And so she came and it was packed and there was no room for her to sit or stand. Um, and they also didn't have a proper women's section. So what she asked was if somebody can just pass her a sidur, and she joined the minyan. But she wrote this article basically to encourage people that there are such religious people who stop everything in the middle of the day to pray, and so it would be appropriate to allocate space for women as well. And I guess it's first come, first serve, but really there should be at least a smaller area for women, and that's what she was. That's why she posted it in one of the groups. So, thought food for thought, as they say. So we'll stop here and open up for questions.